What's up, everybody? Weston here with the Hidden Gibbon, back with another Daily Deck Tech video, keeping our viewer requests going. And today we have Hearthhall. But before we get into that, if you like my deck techs, feel free to subscribe. I also have discussion content, budget content, things like that. Just launched a new series starting that will be every Monday called Magic for the Working Class. Workshopping the title. Maybe commander for the working class, or working class commander might be better. But if you want to see your commander made into a deck tech, drop it in the comments down below as always. And let's get straight into it, shall we? So Hearthhall. Hearthhall was one of the pre-con commanders. Well, I believe it was the secondary commander in the Jund deck for Edge of Eternities. It's got Station. It's for 1 and Jund. And Station, of course, is you can tap another creature you controlled, put charge counters on it equal to its power on the spacecraft. You can do it only as a sorcery. And then it's a creature. Hearthhull's a creature if it has 8 or more station counters on it. But at 2+, you can tap 1, sacrifice a land, draw 2 cards. You may play an additional land this turn. Pretty straightforward. At 8+, it has Flying, Vigilance, and Haste. And whenever you sacrifice a land, each opponent loses 2 life. So we are going to be doing landfall things today, trying to drain out our opponents, and we are going to play a lot of land. And I mean a lot of land, friends. I'm just letting you know that in advance. There are a lot, and I mean a lot of lands in this deck. So, let's see what we got here. Creatures, we are running 20. They are each picked for their abilities to either get us extra lands or things that do lots of utility with lands. So, let's take a gander, shall we? We have Aftermath Analyst, which is when this creature enters, mill 3 cards. We have a lot of things in this deck that are going to allow us to play lands from our graveyard. So milling isn't the worst thing that can happen. And you can pay 4, sacrifice this creature, return all land cards from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped. So if we sacrifice them all, then we can bring them all back with this. Some stipulations that were with this deck. The request is for bracket 3, $300, no tutors. So although I do have ramped spells, I don't have specific tutors like crop rotation in the deck. And then we got a request for Price of Glory and Planetary Annihilation in the deck. So those are the stipulations. So to keep it under $300, no Scape Shift in today's deck. All right. We have Braid's Arisen Nightmare. At the beginning of your end step, you can sacrifice artifact, creature, enchantment, land, or planeswalker. If you do, each opponent may sacrifice a permanent of their choice that shares a card type with it. For each opponent who doesn't, that player loses 2 life and you draw a card. Sacrifice your lands. Your opponents aren't going to want to sacrifice their lands, and then you get to draw lots of cards. Emeritus of Abundance. This is Vigilance and enters prepared. Whenever this creature attacks, if you control 8 or more lands, this creature becomes prepared. And it has a regrowth on it, so you can return target card from your graveyard to your hand. We have Famished Worldsire, a card I absolutely love. I've played this in my Azusa deck, and it is an absolute house. It has Ward 3, Devour Land 3, which means as it enters, you may sacrifice any number of lands, and it enters with 3 times that many 1/1 counters on it. And when this creature enters, look at the top X cards of your library, where X is that creature's power. And then you can put any number of land cards from among them onto the battlefield, then shuffle. So say you get like 15 lands in play, you sacrifice all 15, means you get to look at the top 45 cards, you get to look at the top 45 cards and put all the lands onto the battlefield, triggering your landfall triggers. And then, the sacrifice from Famished Worldsire is nothing to balk at when you have Hearthall here. We have Horizon Explorer, lands you control, enter untapped. This is a cheap way of us getting around and ETB tapped lands. It's going to help us, and it is not nearly as expensive as Amulet of Vigor. Lands you control, enter untapped, and whenever you attack a player, create a Lander token. Lander tokens let you rampant growth for a basic land. Ice Till Explorer, you may play an additional land. You can play lands from your graveyard, and Landfall whenever a land you control enters, mill a card. We have Corvold. I believe Corvold, was in the precon, but, sometimes the precons make good decisions. Flying, and whenever Corvold enters or attacks, sack a permanent. Whenever you sack a permanent, put a 1/1 counter on Corvold and draw a card. So if we're using things like Zuran Orb or something like that to sacrifice our lands, Or our Famished Worldsire, it generates card advantage. It makes Corval big, big, big. We have Lotus Cobra, Landfall. It lets you generate extra mana. This is a way to help ramp things out faster. Lumra, Vigilance and Reach. When her power and toughness are each equal to the number of lands you control, and when Lumra enters, mill 4 cards and return all land cards from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped. Which gets them all back at, you sacrifice a bunch, float a bunch of mana, bring it all back. Mayhem Devil, whenever a player sacrifices a permanent, it deals 1 damage to any target. So, as you sacrifice your lands, dealing some extra damage there. Omnath, Locus of Rage, Landfall, whenever a land enters, you create a 5/5 red and green elemental token, and whenever Omnath or another elemental you control dies, Omnath deals 3 damage to any target. We are running Oracle Modiah. You play with the top card of your library revealed. You can play lands from the top of your library, and you can play an additional land. Azusa, Lost But Seeking, lets you play 2 additional lands each turn. I cannot stress to you enough how good this card is. Nobody, on its own, it just seems so unassuming because it lets you only play 2 extra lands. It doesn't draw you cards or anything like that. But I am telling you that Azusa, especially with these graveyard synergies that we have, is an absolute powerhouse. Ramanap Excavator, you can play lands from your graveyard. 6, whenever 6 attacks, mill 3 cards. You may put a land card from among them into your hand. As long as it's your turn, non-land permanent cards in your graveyard have retrace. Which is awesome, which means you can cast them from your graveyard by discarding a land card in addition to their other types. We have Sylvan Safekeeper, which is sack a land. Target creature you control gains Shroud until end of turn. This gives you a way to protect your Hearthall and your other big scary stuff. We have Tanook, Memorial Ensign. I absolutely love this card. I need to get him built into a paper commander deck. I have him in a couple of my paper decks, but I need him. Landfall. Whenever a land you control enters, he deals 1 damage to each opponent. If this is the second time this ability has resolved this turn, draw a card, which is pretty good. Mass Ping is always good. The Gitrog Monster, Death Touch. At the beginning of your upkeep, sacrifice the Gitrog Monster unless you sacrifice a land. That's pretty easy. We're going to have a bunch of lands in our deck today. You may play an additional land on each of your turns. Whenever 1 or more land cards are put into a graveyard from anywhere, draw a card. Tireless Provisioner nets you a treasure or food every time Landfall triggers, and Tireless Tracker nets you a clue token every time 1 enters, and whenever you crack a clue, it gets +1/+1 counter. So we are running 20 creatures in addition to an absurd amount of lands that we are running, and this is because we have to get some of these things out here to actually crew our Hearthall, right? Sorceries, we're running 11. Ramp spells: Cultivate, Explore, Nature's Lore, Sky Shroud Claim, Rampant Growth, Kodama's Reach, and Farseek. We also have Life from the Loman here. Return up to 3 land cards from your graveyard to your hand, and you dredge 3, which means if you draw, you may mill 3 cards instead. If you do, return this card from your graveyard to your hand. This is a really good card for some of our utility lands that we have in our land slot. We have Splendid Reclamation. Return all land cards from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped. We have World Soul's Rage. It's X and 2. Deals X damage to any target. Put X land cards from your hand or graveyard onto the battlefield tapped. Planetary Annihilation. Each player chooses 6 lands they control, then sacrifices the rest. Planetary Annihilation deals 6 damage to each creature. So this will sacrifice our lands, but we have ways to bring them back. Just make sure that you don't kill your own creatures that are really necessary, right? Which you could play something like Heroic Intervention. I was just strapped for budget, so sub out something for that. For our instance, we have some removal in Beast Within, Infernal Grasp, Terminate, Windgrace's Judgment, Putrefy, Chaos Warp, and we do have Rakdos' Charm, which pops an artifact, and can also have creatures deal 1 damage to their controller, or you can exile somebody's graveyard. We also have Witherbloom Charm. You may sacrifice a permanent. If you do, draw 2 cards, sack a land. Destroy target non-land permanent with mana value 2 or less, or gain 5 life. And then we have our Ramp and Roiling Regrowth, Harrow, and Cycle of Renewal. Artifacts, we are running Arcane Signet and Soul Ring, just to help us get out some of our big stuff a little faster. Zuron Orb is one of our land sack outlets here. You sack a land, you gain 2 life. So, you know, Sylvan Safekeeper and Zuran Orb are our land sacrifice options here. We have Conduit of Worlds, which lets you play lands from your graveyard, and then you can choose target non-land permanent in your graveyard. If you haven't cast a spell this turn, you can cast that card. If you do, you can't cast additional spells this turn, activate only as a sorcery. This is a great way, if you do Planetary Annihilation, your own stuff, to get it back. Crucible Worlds lets you play lands from graveyards, and Exploration, if you station it to 3+, you can play an additional land on your turns. If you station it to 8+, it's a 4/4 flying, and once during each of your turns, you may cast a permanent spell from your graveyard by sacrificing a land in addition to paying its other costs. So, Retrace. Enchantments. We are running Omen Path Journey. This is really important because we have a couple named lands in our land slot that we want to get. And when it enters the battlefield, search your library for up to 5 land cards that have different names, exile them, then shuffle. At the beginning of your end step, choose a land card, a card at random exiled with Omen Path Journey, and put it into the battlefield tapped. You do run the risk of, you know, somebody destroying your Omen Path Journey, and that's a big blow up, but we do have creatures that can smash in. We have Price of Glory. Whenever a player taps a land for mana during another player's turn, destroy that land. That is up to your opponents. If they want to counter your crap or be jerks like that, they're going to have to pay the price. They're going to have to pay the toll. Spelunking, when it enters the battlefield, draw a card, then you can put a land card from your hand onto the battlefield. If you control a cave, we don't, you gain 4 life. Lands you control enter the battlefield untapped, and then we have Tectonic Shift, a card we're going to try out from the Avatar Jumpstart set, which is, as an additional cost to cast a spell, sacrifice half the lands you control, round it up. Hexproof, and lands you control have tap, add 3 mana of any color. So the sacrificing of the lands here is really good for our Hearthhull effect. Now for our lands. Again, I had to keep this at $300, otherwise we could go hog wild with the amount of lands that we have, but we are running a ton of basics here. 15 forests, 11 swamps, and 11 mountains. We are also running Drakmor Salvage, which lets us dredge, so you know you can dredge cards to the graveyard, bring it back to your hand. We have Canyon Sloth, and as well as Sheltered Thicket and Festering Thicket. They all cycle, so draw you cards, and then you can play them from your graveyard. We have Command Tower in here. We have Thespian Stage and Vesuva to copy lands. We have one of our game changers right here in, oh my god, this art is trash. This is Field of the Dead. It's a land, it adds colorless, and whenever this land or another land enters, you control enters. If you control 7 or more lands with different names, create a 2/2 black zombie creature token. I wanted to make this deck somewhat fair, so we have a minimal amount of lands with different names, right? If you really look at it, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, technically 10, technically 11, although this will copy another one, so 10 and 11. We have 11 different names, so you kind of have to summon Exodia to get it activated. But it shouldn't be too hard when you have things like Omen Path Journey. Also, you could sub out one of these other spells to run something like Open the Way. Now, that is the deck build. It seems pretty fun, straightforward. Now, let's go into our handy-dandy playtester, shall we? So, we start our hands with 3 swamps and a mountain. This is a pretty chungussy hand here, but you know what? Ocean favors the bold. We're going to draw another swamp. That's pretty neat. We'll take our next turn. We only draw swamps here at the Hidden Given. And next turn, Command Tower. Look at that. We're going to play our Horizon Explorer, which our lands enter untapped. And whenever you attack a player, create a land or token. We're going to go next turn. Play a swamp. We're going to play our Hearthhall. We're going to go ahead and crew it. So, we're going to set our counters to 2. This already gets us mode 1, which is we can tap 1 mana and tap it, sack a land, draw 2 cards, and you can play an additional land this turn. Pretty simple, pretty straightforward. So we're going to do that. First things first, I am going to tap for 3. I'm going to play Cultivate. I'm going to view my library. I'm going to grab a forest here, since we don't have a whole lot of forests in hand, and grab a forest here. We're going to close and shuffle. I forgot to draw for my turn. My bad. And then what we're going to do is this one is going to come down for the Cultivate. Then we are going to play our land for turn. We're going to play this forest. We're then going to tap this And we're going to sacrifice this swamp. We get to draw 2 cards, and we can play an additional land this turn, playing a swamp. Then what we're going to do is we're going to ramp some more. We're going to play Nature's Lore, and we're going to search our library for a forest. And you know what we're going to grab? We're going to grab, if we can find it in here, Sheltered Thicket. We're going to close and shuffle. And so this is what? Turn 4. And we have ourselves 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 lands. We have a good amount of stuff in our hand. We have 3, 4, 5, 6. We still have a full hand. And then we are going to crew, putting this to 4. All right. Next turn, we draw a Terminate. First things first, I'm going to tap this swamp, and we're going to tap this, sacrificing this swamp to draw 2. And we can play an additional land. We're going to play a mountain. We're going to play a swamp. All right. Pretty good here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You know what we're going to do? We're going to tap 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We're going to play Famished Worldsire. And I am actually going to sacrifice all of these lands. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Right? Let me view my graveyard. Can I view the graveyard? Yeah. View all. Just make sure 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8. Yeah. We sacrificed 9. Okay. So that puts 27 counters. Oh, Jesus. 27 counters on our Famished Worldsire, which then lets us look at the top 27 cards of our deck. So what we're going to do is we're going to view our library. 1, 2, 3, 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27. We'll close and shuffle. These all enter untapped because of Horizon Explorer. Oh boy, we got so many mountains here, friends. Look at this. Look at all these mountains we got here. And this enters untapped because of this. So look at all of this scrumptious land we have. So now we can do a whole bunch more stuff. Well, first thing, since this has Summoning Sickness, we're going to go ahead and we're going to tap this. And we're going to add 27 counters to this. So this is going to have 31 counters, which then means that whenever you sacrifice a land, each opponent loses 2 life. Pretty cool. Now, we are going to go ahead and... let's see here. We're going to play Conduit of Worlds. And then we are going to... Let's see here. 1, 2, 3, 4. We're going to play Splendid Reclamation. Return all land cards from your graveyard to the battlefield. And they will enter untapped. Can I... So... We're going to get back all of those lands that we just sacrificed. These are all untapped, right? Now, what we are going to do... You see all this pile of lands. I know it's getting bogged down. We're going to tap this and this. And so this has Ward 3, right? And so Ward, when it's targeted by a spell an opponent controls, you got to pay the extra 3. We're going to terminate our own Famished Worldsire. Now we're going to tap our Conduit of Worlds. Choose target non-land permanent card in your graveyard if you haven't well, we're going to wait till next turn. All right? So we have to wait till next turn. So then we go to next turn. We're going to play a swamp. Now we're going to do this. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We're going to play Famished Worldsire. We're going to sack all of these lands. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. Make sure you float all your mana, and then that kills everyone. That's how that goes. But let me know what you think in the comments down below. Is the like 47 lands I'm running in this deck too much? Or is it just enough, given what you've seen here? As always, like I said at the start of the video, if you like what I'm doing, please feel free to subscribe, only if you feel I've earned it. If you want to see your commander made into a deck tech, drop it in the comments down below. As always, I am Weston with the Hidden Gibbon, and I hope you all have a wonderful day.